to have everyone in. I'm sorry that my video is turned off. For some reason, Zoom keeps kicking me out. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to put it on again. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Great, great. We're so excited to have you all join in today. It's gonna be an exciting time. It has been a minute. We have had our very last event was on AI product management, and that was interesting. I really enjoyed that session. It was with Mohammed Gunin, and I really did enjoy it. But we decided that we wanted to do this with Jennifer. As a matter of fact, Jennifer is one of our ambassadors. She has been an ambassador since, I believe, 2020 or 2021. And it has been an exciting journey with Jennifer. Good afternoon to everyone. Good morning to some. And yes, good evening to some, because we're all in different time zones. So, on behalf of everyone at Wentus, welcome. I'm going to be admitting a lot of people because I can see that the house is extremely full and it's hot here where I am, which I love because it has been raining. However, I totally do enjoy sessions that we do have because it's always very much beneficial. Today, you see that we're Jennifer is already sharing the screen. She's going to be talking about creating a LinkedIn profile for your future goals. And it's going to be one where you need to ensure that you have your paper, your book, to have all your questions penned down, because I want to always, as usual, get the juice out of Jennifer. She is an exciting woman. She has had so many nominations, as is in regards to women in IT, whether it be in security, cybersecurity, whether it be just an all-around supporter of women in technology. And I'm so excited, so honored to have you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for doing this for us. It's always a pleasure speaking to you. It's always a pleasure having you. And thank you so much for the support that you give to us here at Wentus and to, women in technology generally. So thank you so much, Jennifer. You do have the floor for the next 45 minutes. And then we would go into the question and answer. I'm just told that we have some men on the Zoom call. Whoop, that's great. It gives us more time, for us. It gives us the opportunity to have, more diverse people on the call today. So welcome if you are a guy on this call. We're so excited to have you. We're really excited to have you. So Jennifer, I will give you the floor. Please go ahead if you have questions. If we do have questions, maybe I will interject once in a while. Regardless, I'm so excited to learn from you. I have my book here and I have my pen, so I'm so ready. Hey, Jennifer, please carry on. Hi, Jennifer, are you there? Oh, it seems we've lost Jennifer for a bit. Okay, but if you are excited while she's trying to get on, if you are excited to be here, let us know where you are, streaming in from. Let us know where you're streaming in from. Let us know how excited you are. How has your week been? Again, it's an exciting time for me. My week has been cool. It has been raining, so I love that the weather is sort of changing and sort of cool regardless. So yeah, please let us know where you are calling in from or where you are streaming in from. My name is Dorothy. I am the lead program coordinator at Wentus. On the call with me today is Tolu. Other team members could not make it. However, we're going to be making this recording available via our newsletters. And I'm seeing some messages from a lot of people here. This is Eunice. Eunice says from Toronto, very excited. Hi, Eunice. So good to have you. We have Yandisa saying, hello, beautiful people. My week has been super busy and sunny. Great. Which has been amazing. I'm streaming from Zurich. Hey, Yandisa, we didn't know you have changed location, but congratulations. Hi, Erica. Greetings from Nuremberg, Germany, celebrating a sunny, happy Friday. Great. Whoop, whoop. I love that. Agatha says Cork, Ireland, rainy, rainy, rainy. I'm so sorry. I know how that feels. So yeah. Jennifer, if you are on the call, please go ahead while I read, further down on everyone who is on the call today. So Sakina says, Lagos, Nigeria. Very excited. Hi, Sakina. Good to know that you're in Lagos. How is the weather? How is everything? I know it's really busy there. Anastasia says, good afternoon, all. Anastasia streaming from Port Harcourt. Great. I love. So one of our team members is in Port Harcourt. So fantastic. Mary says Cork Island. So we do have two people from Cork Island, Ireland. So that's fantastic. So I know I said that there is a guy on this call, but I don't see who that is. If you're here and you can hear us, please go ahead and introduce yourself. We would love to know who you are, where you're streaming in from, and also how you got to know about Wentas. So Cynthia says, Cynthia Kiptu, streaming from Kenya. Hi, Cynthia. We do have a lot of our community members in Kenya. And just so you know, we're going to be pushing out a program. It's an internship opportunity for our members. So Tolu says, joining in from congratulations that you're Toronto State, Nigeria. We're excited to have you. Hi, Jennifer. We lost you for a bit.
I am indeed ready. I don't know what happened there. Looks like my internet dropped, and I've been using it all day, no problem. That's typical, isn't it?
That's absolutely fine. So we do have a lot of people. Some from Germany, some from Ireland, some from Switzerland, and obviously from Nigeria. So we're so excited, and you have the floor. Carry on,
Super.
Jennifer.
Thank you. So you can see my screen okay there, yeah?
Yes.
Awesome. So my name is Jennifer Cox of
I have to switch off the laptop and on it again. Let me see if I will. Maybe I'll call.
There we go. Thank you. I have been working in tech for 18 years and working in cybersecurity for the last 7.5 of those. I've done I mentored first with Wentors, had a great experience, and I've been doing lots of different mentoring projects since then. And what I wanted to do when I spoke to Dorothy about doing these 4 sessions over the next 4 weeks is I wanted to pull the things that I found came up often in mentoring relationships and things that I found people found useful, and try and take it out to a larger group of people and see if you would find these things useful then as well. So one of the most common conversations I tend to have with people who are breaking into the cybersecurity or really any tech industry is, where do I begin with my LinkedIn profile? Especially people who are new to tech, and maybe their experience so far has been through education rather than work, or maybe they have no experience, or maybe they just don't know how to make a profile that will draw people in, or if they're applying for a position will represent who they really are when they're applying for jobs, so that their representation is true to what they want to put out to the market for themselves as such. So that's where the idea for this one came out of. The next 3 sessions are for different topics, and we'll talk about them when the time comes around. But yeah, today I want you to think about everything that I'm going to talk to you about holistically. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what to say, but I'm going to give you some pointers on how you should think about certain parts of your LinkedIn and why these parts of it are important. I know you can watch training sessions and stuff from LinkedIn and the generic approach as such, and that's deemed successful. But as a hiring manager, I think it's important to look at both sides of this, what you want to put out and what people like me see when we look at your profile too, and what we're looking for. So that's what we're going to talk about throughout this. So if you're lucky enough to have a second monitor on the go, or your phone or anything like that, where you want to go through your profile, you don't have to make the changes, but look at your profile while I'm talking about the different parts of it. I'm going to go through literally all the menus on the profile, so that you can see where you might apply some changes to yours if you want to. And if you have a pen and paper, make notes on where you think you might want to make changes or parts of this whole process that you want to think about before making any changes. It's all entirely up to you how much you change, what you do, but I'm going to give you a few pointers and a few things to think about as we go. So let's get started. The first question that you should ask yourself about your LinkedIn profile is, what do you want to get out of it? So I always tell people, consider your LinkedIn like a shopping list. So we all too often we look at it as, you know, it is a professional platform and it is for networking with other professionals. The dynamic has changed slightly since COVID because, you know, our professional lives and our personal lives do naturally interconnect, and we've been permitted to do that more so now on platforms like LinkedIn, which I think is great because we're all humans and nobody can draw a very thick and clear line between professional and personal, and the two things do interact with each other, and it's important to acknowledge that. So when you're looking at your LinkedIn or thinking about what you want to get out of it, treat it like a shopping list. So don't just think about what you should do on LinkedIn and what you should look like there. You want to think about what you actually want to get out of it. And it's difficult to maintain lots of different social media platforms. That's for sure. So whether you may have, I know for me, I have a Facebook account for kind of like for family and for people that I know that are abroad, for keeping in touch with those. I have a Twitter account that I'm not very good at updating, to be fair, but I like it for what's happening right now in the world or with anyone that I'm speaking to. I have an Instagram account because it's full of pretty pictures, and when I take pretty pictures, I like to post stuff on it there too. But my LinkedIn account is probably the one that I'm most active in. But even across those four, it takes time to update those things thoughtfully and to make connections with people. So I don't want to spend time on any of those accounts doing things because I should do them, because I have to do them, because it needs to be done. I want to spend time on those platforms doing things that are fun. So taking the other three platforms aside and looking just at LinkedIn, I too used to have the account with the generic photograph, where, you know, the professional headshot. And with the background that probably had the name of the company that I was working for, or a nice scenic background from a photograph that I maybe took years ago, something like that. And I too filled in all of the generic CV information on mine for years, and then wondered why I wasn't getting a whole lot of traction. At the time, I worked for a company for 11 years, so it wasn't terribly important to me. But when I looked to change what I was putting out there and appeal to different types of companies, and I looked at my profile with an open mind and more objectively, there was nothing different between me and thousands of other people, nothing that stood out. So if somebody was looking at 100 profiles like mine, why would they pick mine above anybody else's? What would they see on my profile that made them curious about me, or curious about meeting me, or told them anything about what it is that I stand for or who I am? And there wasn't anything there. It was just full of generic information, you know, from my CV that was, you know, not particularly interesting. So I started over time to adjust different parts of my LinkedIn. I got my role in Tenable and settled in nicely. And then I played with it really because it didn't matter. I wasn't looking for a job at that time. So I got to organically make changes to my profile and see what kind of an impact that made to the people that I work with and the relationships I have with them, down to other groups such as Wentworth that I've been involved in, and different relationships I've had socially and for work. And I've seen some significant differences. So as soon as I started to treat it like a shopping list, so I started to look at like, who would I like to connect with? And what kind of jobs am I interested in at some point down the line? Even if I don't want to leave the company that I'm in, I should always be thinking about the next role that I want to do and connecting with people who are either in that role or the role above that role, so that I'm always looking forward when I think about my LinkedIn and never looking backwards. If there's particular companies that I find interesting or fascinating to me, big or small, it doesn't matter. I follow those companies. I connect with people who are in those companies so that I can learn more about those companies. And the same with voluntary groups and associations that I would like to be associated with, or I am associated with. Now, on the flip side of that, it's also super important to do the opposite. If there's people that aren't helping you move towards your goals, like when we all get on LinkedIn first, we all fall into the trap of connecting with old school friends or Auntie Joan down the road. None of those people, like, save your Facebook for that, save your other social medias for that. None of those people are people that are going to help you move towards the goal that you have for your career. So get rid of them. Apologize to Auntie Joan if you're worried that it's going to be taken personally, but LinkedIn is for your professional goals, for what you want to do with your career, your future. And you should look at the people that you're connecting with in that way. So one of the very first things I did, and it was super cleansing actually as well, which I wasn't expecting, it was a great bonus, was I went in and I got rid of all of the people that I used to go to school with, that I was previously connected with, even people that I used to work with in old roles that are still, you know, in the old roles too, because that's my past as far as my career is concerned. And all of those people that really mattered to me from companies that I used to work in are still connected with me. They either have my number or are on WhatsApp or on other social media platforms. What I wanted to do was only look forward. If you're on your LinkedIn profile and you find that you're reminiscing when you're going through the posts that you see, then you're not connected with the right people. You need to be connected with the people that are part of your journey towards your next career goal or your next life goal as such from there. And the same when it comes to roles that you want to be in. So I used to work in support for years, and I think support people are some of the best people in the world. They put up such trying circumstances and such difficult environments. That said, a lot of the people that I used to work with in the support, I don't connect with them anymore on LinkedIn. I've moved on from there. I moved to being an SC, and then I moved into leadership. So now a lot of my connections are with people that are C-level, exec level, senior management, own their own companies, people that are making changes in the world, stuff like that, because that's the direction that I want to go in. And most everybody else, then I've removed any of those connections if they're popping up all the time in my feed. If you're really concerned about what someone might think of you, you can just block the information, remove it from your feed so you don't have to look at it anymore. But what you will know that you've done it right when you open your LinkedIn, and your news feed on LinkedIn is all about things that inspire you and people that motivate you to move towards your next goal. If that's not happening when you're opening up your LinkedIn, then you need to start afresh, clean it all out and go again then from there. So then who do you connect with and why does it matter? So think not just on the work front as such from there. So I mentioned earlier about connecting with people who are in the roles that you want to be in. And so if you ultimately want to be a CEO, then start making some connections with CEOs and people who run their own companies. Because that's what you're going to see in your feed, and following a lot of CEOs, because a lot of CEOs have a lot of followers and can't connect with everybody, but you can still follow them and see the kind of things that they're talking about. If that's your ultimate goal, then do that. But also bear in mind your life outside of that. Work is not just work anymore. Nobody these days does just their 8-hour day and then goes home and switches off from it, and then they have a clean definition between their work and their home life. Also think about other things that are important to you. So for me, mentoring is important. So having any kind of conversation around mentoring pop up in my news feed is important to me. So I'll always leave those things there. If for you it's sports, or it's finances, or it's children's health, or anything like that, connect with people who are involved in those industries too. And what you'll be surprised to find is that over time, the two will gel. They'll actually very much come together. And when you're looking for opportunities further down the line, you'll be surprised to find that the things that excite you and that you're interested in as part of your personal life will combine with the things that are part of your professional goals. And you might find an opportunity further down the line that brings the two of those things together, which is where we get into the world of, you know, ideal jobs. What would you love to do? Oh, maybe I'd love to work with a children's charity but run it and make changes in X, Y, Z in the world. And these things will pop up in your newsfeed, how to do it, who to talk to, and what you should be involved in. So combine both. Even though I said earlier that LinkedIn is a professional platform, like I say, blending the two is important, because the you that comes to work is not the only you that exists. There is also the you that's at home, the you that may be a parent or a sibling or a child or a cousin or a sister or a brother or whatever. You know, you have all of these different roles, and it would be untrue to you to exclude all of those parts of your personality and the roles that you have in your life from your work goals as well. And these days as well, I know as a hiring manager, for me, the generic profile was that person may tick all of the boxes for the technical requirements that we have for a role. And I also like to see personality in there somewhere. I like to know what kind of a person this is. And that helps me to decide, you know, if the things that they're into and the things that they talk about, maybe they would be a good fit for the team. So when hiring managers are looking at either people who have applied or they're looking for people to apply, that's the kind of information they're looking at beyond just your qualifications for the role. And it's also not impossible, and it has happened to me in the past, that you may find somebody who really fits the team, who is slightly underqualified for the role, and you'll overlook that because by going to somebody's profile, you can see that they have the capabilities to overcome whatever the qualification shortfall is, because you can see that through other posts and actions that they have on their LinkedIn profile. So there's no loss in allowing yourself to be more visible on your profile beyond what your certificates and your qualifications say about you then from there. So we're going to go on to the first thing that people see on LinkedIn, which is your photo and your banner. And I've always found this one really, really challenging in the past. Feel free to go have a look at my profile. It does not mean that it is perfect. There's always going to be room for change. I've got it to a place that I'm kind of quite happy with right now, but I'd say easily every fortnight or so I get in and I change something else completely on my profile. So there is no perfect. It should always be evolving and changing with and for you. So when you look at your photo and your banner, depending on the career that you've chosen, have a think about how you want to be represented. So obviously, if you're looking at, you know, legal roles and things like that, your profile picture is going to be very different to somebody who maybe does marketing or is a social media marketer, something like that. But that said, there's always a temptation to fall into the generic suited and booted professional photo, which can look really, really well, but does it tell people more about who you are and what you're like? Actually, my profile picture was taken by my son, who is 16, and he was due to take headshots for everyone for their end of year book in school, and he wanted to test his camera. So I stood in the back hall in my house with my dog in my arms, which you can't see in that photograph. And I smiled every which way. There's plenty of photographs, if you could see all the rest of them, me pulling funny faces too, so that he could get it's a manual camera he has, so that he could get the focus just right and the lighting right before he went to take pictures for people in his team. And when I saw some of the pictures he took of me, I thought, oh, kind of like that one. Shows a few of the old wrinkles, because I'm no point in me lying about how old I am and how much experience I have. It shows this inevitable little quirky bit of hair that always sticks out in the back of my head. But I also look pretty relaxed and satisfied. So I was like, I kind of like that. I like it better than the professional photos that I can get taken. Because for me, the professional photographs show something that feels a little false. And this to me was much more natural. And that's what I went with. So think about your photograph. It could actually be one that you've found from your holiday that you look fantastic in and you're happy and relaxed and you want to show that. Or it could be that you prefer the professional one, suited and booted. But make a conscious decision about what you want to put up for your photograph, and put a photograph up. A lot of people tend to put things like their dog or some scenery or so on their profile photograph. And that creates a really clean disconnect between you and your profile and anyone that is looking at you for employment or scholarships or whatever it is that you're looking at from there. It's important that they can see you and that they can make a connection with you as a human and associate all of the things in your profile with a face from there. Now, when it comes to your banner, you've got a lot more freedom. So I know that we did some training before in work a couple of years ago on using a banner with the company logo, and we were given lots and lots of banners to use, and everybody, I think a lot of them are actually still in use for people right now. And if you work for a particular company and you're happily working for that particular company, that is a great thing to do. It's branding for the company, it's branding for you as somebody who works for that company. And if you're trying to brand yourself, have a think about something different as your photograph. You can combine the two of them. There's simple tools like Canva out there that can help you make the banner pictures really easily that look really, really sweet. If you're working for yourself, you can have all the fun in the world with your background photograph. but think again about what it is that you want it to say. Do you want it to be a logo? Do you want it to be a scenic picture? Do you want it to be really colorful and draw people into it? I mean, I love yellow. Yellow is one of my favorite colors, and also pink. So there are two colors that you'll tend to see a lot when I post bits and pieces, and I've started to accidentally, I guess, make that like a branded color on my profile for things that I do. But I do actually work for Tenable. So, you know, I can also use the Tenable branded photos and things like that as well if I want to. So think about that, pull out what works. But it is important to do that, because often when people are trawling through, if you think about it, you go to connections and you trawl through all of the photographs of people that you may or may not connect with. The banner is actually the first thing that pops out, followed then by the profile photo. So have a look, scroll through some of the pictures of other people in connections and just pay attention to what stands out to you, and steal some of the tips. If it's colors that work, if it's particular photographs that work, and pick the things that grab your attention and run from there. I also like to use a word or a phrase. I actually don't think I have one on mine at the moment, but something that means something to you. So whether it's excellent, you'll see on a lot of profiles they'll either have it on their banner or they'll have it in their description, which we'll go on to next. But take time to think about this, because it's absolutely the first thing that people are going to see in relation to you. So if you think of yourself as a product that's to be marketed, you need to make sure that your banner and your photo draw people in from there. So a nice friendly photograph, and a good, bright, clear banner is where you want to begin then from there. So moving from that, then you want to think about what exactly is it that you want people to know about you. So there's the descriptors in the early stage of your profile, and what you want those things to say. You have the opportunity to put in a few sentences under your description and then use your pronouns if you want to then from there. I often get asked by people, well, I'm clearly a woman, so she, her are of course my pronouns. Why do I need to put them on my profile? You know, in my case. And it's not about me. Putting your pronouns on your profile is about demonstrating to anyone looking at it that you are supportive and open of diverse communities, basically. So it's for other people and how you're perceived to them that you put your pronouns up. It's not for you. At least in most cases, it's not for you. Obviously it's your choice whether you want to do that or not, but there is an option there on LinkedIn to do that, and we're seeing more and more of that in use on LinkedIn. I think it's quite important if you especially like Winters is a group typically for women, mentoring and being mentored. So we know what it's like to be part of a diverse community and to want to feel welcome as part of a diverse community. So doing something like having your pronouns tell people that you're open to that and that other people are welcome with you as well. The description then too, you get 2 or 3 sentences to write for your description. You want to be really, really clear about what it is that you want to say. And the very first part of that should be the one that aligns to your career. So for example, mine, the beginning of it mentions that I work in cybersecurity. That is my job. That is my career. And then after that, it mentions other things that I do around diversity and so on then from there. So think about that. If what you want to do is you want to become a public speaker, then lead with public speaker or volunteer or mother or whatever it is that you want to be the most important thing that people know about you. And some people may say that saying that you're a parent is not the thing that should go on LinkedIn. I disagree. I have had a CV in recently where somebody's description on a CV said that they're not just a parent, but that they were a parent to a child with Down syndrome. And I thought that told me that was a wonderful statement for me to see on a CV. Not only are they proud to be a parent, but they're proud to tell people that they're a parent of a Down syndrome child, which can often be met with a lot of stigma. And that tells me a lot about the resilience of that individual. And I hadn't even looked at the rest of their CV, but I was already going, ooh, you're really, really interesting. So have a thought about what your description is going to say. If you look at a lot of recruitment and sales people in particular tend to stick to a really salesy line. If that's the area that you're working in, maybe think about how you can do that differently. But try and stick to either between 1 and 3 statements or sentences in that line. And if you're putting more than one statement, put a separator between them, just so that it's clear that you're multifaceted, as we say, and it's not one big long sentence. When we talk about the industry, I've seen a few people that are going into the cybersecurity industry, and they may be coming from a totally different industry altogether. My inclination there is to cheat the system as such and change the industry to the one that you're moving into. Because when people are looking for you on searches, if you work currently in catering and you're moving to cybersecurity, if people are searching for cybersecurity, you are not going to come up on their search because you're flagged under the catering industry. So whatever the industry is that you are or want to work in, change that under your profile as well. And then with education too. So what people have a tendency to do with education is two things. One, just list it. Like it doesn't matter, like it's somehow not important that you spent all those years studying and working hard to do all those things. Or the opposite side, that they overkill it, that they write down every single thesis and project and write down to that they'll have on their profile. On the education part, you want to assume that people are already tired. So you want to make sure that you hit the most important thing you want people to know on that first line under your education section. So with education, you'll often have people that will have school, secondary school, and then college education, whatever the equivalent of that is in all the other different countries. You're talking, you know, under 12, then 12 to 18 maybe, and then 18 plus education. If you have been working for 20 years and more, 5 years ago, you did a course that you deem the most important thing to you that you've done, then put that course at the top of the list in education. So it's the first thing that people see. So people that work in the area that you want to work in see that as most relevant to them. Alternatively, if you're applying for a very specific role, just keep rearranging the education part so that the things that are most relevant to the role that you're applying to hit first. You have to assume, and I talk about this later, you have to assume that people are lazy. So you want to put the most important information in front of them at the earliest point possible. So the featured section and the about section are really interesting ones. Here's where you get all of the room to play and do whatever you want with as such. So the featured section, I always say that our section is, that's where all the fun happens. If you do anything, if you write an article, if you get included in a post, if there's photographs of you on your employer's site, if you collaborate on a project, if you volunteer for a day, anything at all, then you can put that into your featured section. Often when people are looking at LinkedIn profiles, they don't go beyond the featured section and don't see all the rest of the information that you have in it. They'll just open the featured, because what that tells me as a hiring manager is that this is what you deem to be important about you. So if this is what you want me to know most, it will be in your featured section. And don't be afraid to put lots of things in the featured section, because there's just one button to expand it and we can stroll through it all. So what I look at the featured section as being like a running commentary of somebody's work and existence, I guess, telling me all about their successes as they go. And people who use it well, what you'll see when you expand it and look at all of their featured section is you'll actually see their growth from, it could be years ago, it could be 6 months ago, to the latest featured part, where you can see how quickly they're able to maybe acclimatize in a new job, how much study and achievements they have done in X amount of time, how involved they are within their community, things like that. You literally get a running commentary of it when you open people's featured section. And I know that you get maybe an hour or half an hour in a job interview where, I don't know about you, but I almost always leave a job interview going, oh, I wish I'd said that. Always. But at least my featured section has all of that stuff covered. So if anybody is looking at my profile and they go to featured, then I know that I'm advocating for myself well there. And then about, I always found this one difficult. Some people are great at writing about themselves or writing their own bios. Women are not. Let's just call it what it is. We're not very good at singing about our own achievements, or letting everybody know how absolutely awesome we are. So what I find the best thing to do with that is to have somebody that you trust write it for you, if you're not comfortable writing it yourself. And the reason I suggest that is that, for example, let's say my sister, I'm very close with my sister. She knows about everything that I do. She doesn't have to know all the technical ins and outs of it. But she knows what kind of a person I am, the kind of people that I would advocate for, the things that I'm interested in, and generally the kind of work that I do. But she would never say, oh, she sucks at that. Or she would never struggle to say a positive thing about me. So if I'm struggling to write something about myself like that, I will ask her to write it. I will adjust it before I'll post it up, but I'll ask her to write it, because she's going to sugarcoat that in such a beautiful way that I will never think to use those words about myself. And I say that because I'm a woman and we suck at writing positive things about ourselves. We're generally not good at it at all. If you're good at it, I would welcome, throw your name in the chat so you can help everybody write theirs, because it's so hard to do that. So everybody usually has at least one person that they could trust and ask to do that. Can you give me 100 words on an about me, if I was to put it on my LinkedIn? Even if you've got a couple of people that you can ask, go ahead and ask a few people so that you can pull something together from there. You're going to get the best version of you for your about by doing that. And the next one. Oh, my page is frozen, has it? There we go. So professional and voluntary experience, and this is probably the most kind of risque part I'm going to put in this. So take from it what you will. I believe that the professional and the voluntary experience that you have on your profile are equal in importance. And I believe that as an individual who has hiring managers looking at my profile, and I believe it as a hiring manager looking at other people's profile, I want to know what kind of a person you are beyond the qualifications that you have. If I'm looking at two CVs side by side and both of you have exactly the same qualifications and capabilities to do the job that I have on offer, what I need to see what's different about both of you. And if I see that, when I say voluntary experience, I don't mean that you have to actually volunteer for stuff. It could be that, I don't know, you play basketball with a local team, other things that you do. But I want to see the differentiators between the two of you so that I can choose which one to roll with. And if somebody is able to demonstrate to me that they have a life outside of work, then that to me is a big positive. It means that they know how to understand work-life balance, that they're going to bring that work-life balance to the rest of the team, that they know how to look after themselves, because people who look after themselves make better employees because they understand the importance of looking after themselves. You know, people that get involved in their community know how to look after other people. Why wouldn't I want someone like that on my team? Like, cool. They're exactly the kind of people that you want. So to me, professional and voluntary experience carry the same weight. So it's important when you put your professional experience in, think about how much information, how much detail you put in on that. So if you're new into career, you may only have voluntary or apprenticeship maybe, or scholarship experience. If you're a few years in, you may have very little professional experience, but you have a few years worth. Don't put tons and tons and tons of bullet points with detail of what you do on your day-to-day underneath your job role. In most cases, when somebody is looking to hire you, they know the job that they want to bring you into, and they know the titles of people that were in jobs prior to that, if you know what I mean. So when they look at your profile and they see that you've held a particular title, there'll be an assumption and an expectation about the kind of work that you've done. If you've done stuff above and beyond the core role, so let's say, for example, you work as a support engineer, and if you've done something beyond take support cases via phone and chat and email, maybe you also have created some training and enablement for the rest of your team, that should go on it. Maybe aside from that, on the professional side, maybe you have developed a new process that changed how everybody worked in your team and it made things better. Put that on it. I already would assume if I was bringing you in as a support engineer, and you are already a support engineer, that you know how to be a support engineer, how to answer calls and how to deal with people and how to resolve queries. I want to see what else you can do that will make you different to the X number of other people that also have been support engineers in the past. So I would say maybe 2 bullet points under each role or none. I know at mine I've just stripped it down to titles now at this stage, but I'm working a lot of years. So it just takes up too much space to go back through the ones before that. But have a think about it, especially for those of you that are earlier in career. What if you had to pick two of the most important things you wanted somebody to know about the job you're in and the jobs you had prior, what would they be? Would they really be that you've done filing, or you have efficient phone manners, or are they really the most important things you want them to know? Probably not. There's probably other things that you've done that you haven't thought about that might be important, and put them on it. And then under the voluntary experience, think about the things that you do outside of work. It may be that you're involved in your local church. It may be involved in other community things or sports, or with your kids, or you like sightseeing, or any other things that about you that you can put under voluntary, and that tell us a little bit more about the kind of person that you are important. And the same thing, aim for two things about that in your bullet points that tell me more about the important part of that. So for me, like volunteering with Winters as a mentor, I would pick points. I actually can't remember now off the top of my head if I have done that. I think I've just got that I'm involved in Winters. But if I had to pick two of the key points there, then I would mention probably the number of people that I've mentored, or I would give an example of a significant benefit to, like an example of where a mentee has succeeded because of the relationship or something like that, so that I'm telling a story about why not only is this important to me, but why it should be important to other people then as well. Okay. And then your activity. This is a funny one that I find often I see people trip up on. We seem to forget that any activity that you have on LinkedIn is visible to either everyone or everyone that's connected to you. So if somebody puts a very risky or topical post up, or it's politically challenging post up, and you like it, even if all you do is you just like it and you're thinking, sure, nobody knows, it's just a like, that appears in my feed. So I can see that you're liking something that is, let's say, not politically correct, and that can go against you. And we can easily go through as well your feed history, all of the, when you go under and look at all of your posts, that will show you not only the things that you've actually posted, but the comments you've put against every other post or anything that you've ever liked in the past. And it's really important, if you're trying to create a perception of employability on LinkedIn, it's really important to remember that when you're responding to posts and to people, the language that you use. You know, I do know, like if you're swearing or anything on LinkedIn, that'll show up in your feed. If you don't want people to know that, then don't do it. If you have strong religious beliefs and you don't want people to know that, then don't share those things on LinkedIn. Keep them for other platforms or other places then from there. If somebody puts up a funny joke, and for that split second that you think it's funny, you hit like on it, but it turns out that it's an incredibly racist joke really, or it's against other, I can't even think of any examples because I've cleared all that stuff well out of any feed that I have, but so I don't even see it. But if you've done something like that and you like it, everyone can see that you have liked that post, and that says so much more about you than you ever want anyone to know, even if it was just a passing thought where you liked something. So bear that in mind. Everyone can see what you do. Anything on any social media or anywhere on the internet, we all know now, is never really gone. So you could unlike it, but it's still going to be there in your feed as having been liked in the first place. Then with regards to doing posts and making sure that you're getting seen by people, once a day is the ideal when you're posting. If you don't have time for that, there is a tool for scheduling in LinkedIn. I know I was off for 2 weeks holidays there recently, and I was adamant that I was not going to go online and check in emails or anything like that while I was away. So I sat down, put a couple of hours aside before I went on leave, and I set up a scheduled post for every single day, with the exception of Sundays, because I never post on Sundays anyway. Every single day while I was away, and I scheduled them all to post at slightly different times, so it didn't seem so automated, and I could just go on my holiday and turn it all off, and it looked after itself then from there. You can use other tools, like I mentioned Canva earlier, where you can create scheduled posts for all of your social media. That's a whole other world of things that you can look into. But in LinkedIn alone, there's a little clock icon when you go to make a post. There's a clock icon where you can schedule that post to happen at a different stage. And then tag your pictures on your post in order to make your post look nice and clean and concise and give you all the room that you need to say whatever it is that you want to say. Instead of tagging everybody after all of the text. This might seem obvious to a lot of people, but I didn't know it in the beginning. But instead of tagging people at the bottom of all of your text and having this big long list of blue links, if you tag the pictures instead, so they're invisible, and it keeps your post nice and clean, so people are only focusing on what it is that you actually want to say, which is the important part. And then we get down to your education, any licenses you have, any certificates that you have, things like that. And there's where I have my people are lazy comment again. People are inherently lazy. And when you've got recruiters and hiring managers, I mean, I still keep getting emails from recruiters offering me jobs as retail assistants and frontline support, which I haven't done. I haven't been a retail assistant in about 25 years, and I haven't done frontline support in a significant number of years too. But people are lazy. They're just going to pull your name out and they're going to send you stuff that's not relevant to you. And some of that will be down to how you position things on your profile. So we talked about the education side of it earlier, but if you look at licenses and certs, so if you've done any training, had any certification, wade through the stuff that you've got and have a think about what's most relevant to the career choice that you're making now and the direction that you want to go in, and push them up to the top. You can rearrange all of those things, all of the education listings and your license listings and your cert listings in any order you want. They're automatically put up by year, but you can rearrange them. So rearrange them so that at the top of it is the one that's most relevant to the position that you're aiming for. So it might be a case like I did design thinking about 3 years ago, and I was moving into being more involved in community work and volunteering at things at that stage. So I made sure that that stays I've done other things since then, but I make sure that it stays at the top of my certifications, because that's what I want people to see first. I mean, I've done psychology study and theater study, and that's all like proper cool and not remotely related to the career that I've chosen. But for me, the design thinking one is the most important one to go at the top of it, because it covers both my ability to plan and my ability to think differently than most. So when you talk about leadership and stuff, design thinking is really important for people who develop products or are creating a service, but I actually adapt it for what I do, and I want people to know that I'm using those kind of tools for that. So go through any of your education, your licenses and your certs, and put the most important thing you want people to know with regard to qualifications at the top of those lists. I'm going to be bang on time, Dorothy, so don't worry, I'm nearly there. This is the last one. So projects, skills, recommendations, organizations. If somebody's made it all the way down your profile to these few bits at the bottom, which admittedly I'm quite like filling in these bits and pieces, and I didn't even realize we're there for years. But if somebody's made it all the way down to the bottom of your profile, this is where you can put other fun things that you want people to know about you. Also bear in mind that you can export your LinkedIn profile and get all of your information out in one big bulk if you need to recreate your CV at any point. So I actually use my LinkedIn profile as a running commentary of my career. I couldn't tell you the last time I've updated my actual CV, because I have it all on LinkedIn, and I mean all of it on LinkedIn. Some of it I hide so that I don't have it on show all the time, but everything I need is there. Should I ever need to go back and remember what year I changed this role, everything is on my LinkedIn for me to go back and look it up. So when you look at projects, you're again looking at things either that you've done in work, that you've led. So if you have led an initiative in work as a support engineer doing some enablement and training, then put that under your project. If you are involved in a voluntary organization and have run a project, put that into it. If you have skills that you've picked up over the years, like I did radio production, bit random, I know, didn't think that was ever going to be useful for someone who worked in cybersecurity, but it became very useful for things like recorded Zooms and podcasts and stuff like that down the line. So there are skills that would belong under that section there too. You might think it's not relevant to your current role, but if it's something you hated, don't put it on it. Don't advertise your ability to do something you hated to do, because you'll end up having people pick up on it. You could end up continuing to do it. But if it's something that you enjoyed, put it in under your skills. Don't be afraid to request recommendations from people. I've been meaning to do that now for a long time. I've been filling them in for a few people over the last 2 weeks, and it's a really good way to reconnect with people on LinkedIn as well, as to request a recommendation. And it gives an employer a genuine, it's a review. If you're buying a product, you'd like to go and have a look at a review. So if there's recommendations for somebody on their profile, it's the same as doing like quality check and getting a review too. And then, of course, any organizations that you're associated with, and think carefully about this one and how it may be perceived to any employer. If it's a voluntary organization, if it has strong beliefs one way or another, is that going to be a positive or a negative for you? And just think about that before you put them in. And then, like, I'm involved with Windtowards, that'd be an organization that I would put in on mine. That's obviously going to be a positive for any employer, then looking at mine from there. So just think about those things, add them in. If somebody has got as far as these points in your on your profile, then you're already looking pretty strong for the role that you're going for. But I almost treat these particular ones as like a safe, as somewhere that I store all that other information I don't know where to put, so that when I do ever need to update my CV at some stage, I have it all there handy. Okay, so that is it. There's my LinkedIn for anyone who isn't already connected to me. If you want to connect with me, feel free to find me there. And then, yeah, we'll move to Q&A if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. That was fantastic. I totally enjoyed it. I'm going to go first. I haven't seen any question in our chart. If you do have questions, this is a great time to just put that on the chat group or the room, and I will read that. But Jennifer, you made a comment about, how women are not our best trumpet blowers. I think I would say that, in the most short, simple way. Why do you think that is? Why is that a problem? Because now that you mentioned that, I remember once I was having a meeting with my team members, and I basically said, I really don't know some of the things. I know I do a lot for Wentus, but sometimes I really forget what I do, or I really don't know that, this one thing I did is something that I could put on my CV. And then my team member, started to blow my trumpet and remind me a lot about, the things that I do. And I looked at it, I was like, wow, I never knew that, that was something. But why do you think that is a problem?
I think somebody's just put into the chat there, Agatha has, about imposter syndrome. Absolutely. We, as women, we've been conditioned for, I want to say decades, but really it's generations and generations and generations, where we're supposed to be quiet. We're supposed to listen. We're supposed to nod and smile and tell our partners or our husbands that they're the bee's knees, like they're the center of the universe, and we're supposed to, stand quietly aside from that and support it. But I think we've gotten to a stage now where we know we're allowed to talk positively about ourselves, but we're still too close to that kind of infringement as such. I mean, my mother would absolutely keel over with embarrassment if I told her that I needed her to tell me 3 positive things about herself. She couldn't do it. That's her generation. I have struggled with it for a long time. I've gotten better at it simply because I make myself do it, because I can't expect other people to do it if I don't do it. And I have a niece of next generation who is so much better at it than I am, but still sometimes she'll sort of second guess herself. So we're getting better at it. And I really think the generation of women that are, from kids right up to maybe 30 or so now are much better at it. They're well able to hold their own. And I'm so proud as a woman to see them being like that and teaching. They're the ones that are teaching me to be better at it. But I think that's where it comes from. And I think we call it imposter syndrome because we need to put a label on this kind of thing. We need to understand and go and research and study what it is. But it's generations and generations of conditioning that we've always taken second place. So we've never understood or been able to take first place or even begin to understand what it's like to be there. And a lot of women, I bet you there's a lot of women on this call who could say the very same as you, that they've thought, I don't really do a whole lot, but their colleague tells them, well, actually, and it's eye-opening.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer, for mentioning that. And to the person who wrote imposter syndrome, you are so, Agatha, thank you so much for saying that. You know, we usually would have sessions on imposter syndrome, and that would be during our IWD day. And Allison Shamir, she's the one who takes that session. And there was something she mentioned, and this is just for everyone. She said, why don't we change the narrative around fake it to make it? We could say fake it to brave it. And that has changed my entire perspective for the longest period since the very first day that she mentioned it. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for mentioning that. I'm going to go straight right into it to, read some of the questions that we have. So Yandisa, the beautiful Yandisa says, hi, Jen, I'm quite careful about not indicating my interest of searching for new opportunities on my LinkedIn profile, lest my current company colleagues detect that I am scouted. I have made some updates to my profile, but I'm not sure if that is necessarily limiting my chances. How would you say is the wisest way to navigate seeking a new opportunity and being subtle about it while attracting traction from recruiters?
So there's a couple of things that I would do there. There is a setting on LinkedIn where you can say I'm seeking opportunities, but there's also one where you can say like I'm open to having conversations, which doesn't flag your profile as saying I'm open to having conversations. And I've noticed I tested all these settings to see what kind of different interactions I have with people, and I get almost the same amount of interactions. Actually, I get better quality interactions with the open to conversations, the one in between the two. I don't think that's what it's called, but it's somewhere between the two settings, than the one that I'm open for job roles. When I put the one I'm open for job roles on, I get loads and loads of noise, like nonsense stuff that comes through. So I would probably switch that. It's like a silent switch so that recruiters and employers know that you're willing to talk to them, that you're not completely closing the doors on them. And then when it comes to you looking and researching other companies and other positions, if you on a regular basis, let's say you like a couple of a company a day, every day from now till the end of time, it's going to become like if your employer is looking at your activity, that's normal activity. You following different companies all the time. So you just add these people. If your activity on LinkedIn is as consistent as it's always been, then nothing's going to look different to your employer if they're worried that you're looking elsewhere. Whereas you need to just plan ahead with regards to choosing the companies that you're following or the people that you're connecting with. It doesn't tell people who you've connected with. They could go, I guess, and look at the people that you're connected with, but I think you can actually hide that too. I would still reach out and connect with people in those companies, in those roles and things like that. The only activity they can really see is when you start following other companies, because it comes up on the bottom of your profile. So I'd throw a few humdingers in and follow companies that have nothing to do with the area I work in. And I would follow some companies that do, so that they just get bored of looking at those activities as I go.
Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I hope that answers your question, Yandisa. All right, so moving on to the next question. Erica says, would you recommend seeking out any professional services to tailor or audit your LinkedIn profile? I have seen some profiles by people who do this for a living and was not necessarily convinced.
You could. I'm always dubious, unless these people are actually going to give you a job themselves. In many cases, they tend to charge money that's not worth the value of what you're getting out of it. Like there's courses well, actually what I've done is not a course. It's just what I've learned and with people that I've spoken to be shared with other people. But even LinkedIn do LinkedIn courses on how to improve your profile. There's any number of free courses in relation to that on things like Pluralsight and YouTube and all of that. That's going to be no different to what you would learn through a professional service that does it for you. And I also have to wonder that when a professional service does something like that, what do they do differently for you versus the second person they work with and the third person they work with? Are they just churning them all out in a generic way, which actually just throws you into a pot the very same as everybody else? Where I think the whole point of LinkedIn is to try and be you, and in that be different to everybody else. So you can avail of professional services, and if you're struggling with just the technology or the maintenance of doing the LinkedIn side of things, then maybe that's the benefit to it. But if you're going to do it yourself, use all of those free tools that are out there and do it, but ultimately go with what feels right for you. If you're putting something on your LinkedIn profile and you're like, don't really know if I want people to know that, or don't really, you know, maybe that's too much information, or I really hate that picture, but I'm told I should put a picture of me looking like that, then stop it. Everything you put on it, you should feel comfortable and confident with. You should feel happy that it represents who you are and the things that you believe in. So go through each part of it, and if you don't feel anything other than warm and fuzzies for everything that you have on your profile, then take it off. That's the way. It's that simple, I think. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. We have another question, and this would be from Aya. Aya says, my second question is, okay. My question is, I transitioned into data analytics field this year. Congratulations on that. I have been able to overcome the imposter syndrome to always put myself out there. However, I feel like I'm doing a terrible job connecting with the people in my field. I know what I want and what I am working towards, but I have not been able to connect with people outside my local environment. How do you advise me to search for people in the same field to connect with? The keyword search.
Yeah. So if you're looking for people in data analytics, I would broaden, because if you're already working in data analytics, unless you're just looking to learn more about what other people do in the same job, I would broaden it a little bit more and just search for the data part of it. So you'll have data scientists and data engineers and all of those as well that can add more oomph to your job and your knowledge and such. Then from there, I would search purely for that. But then I would also, I've done it before myself, where I'll actually pick different countries randomly because I want to expand and learn how people do things in other countries too. Because one of the very first things I actually learned from working with Wenters is the first time I worked with women in countries outside of like the UK and Ireland, and it just like blew my mind how little I knew about how the rest of the world worked. I thought I was like super cool and knew it all, not a bit. So what I do is I reach out, I look for a role or an area. In that case, I might just search for data, and I would look for specific countries. Just throw a dart at a map, or you know, pick a letter from the alphabet and pick 3 countries with that letter, and then I would pick people from there and add them to my profile. I'd always put a little comment in that says, you know, I'm really interested in the work that you do. I always tell them something nice, because people will always connect with you if you tell them something nice. So, you know, love the post that you have up, or love the field that you're working in, would really like to connect. And then that starts to automatically change your feed, but it will also automatically change the people that you're prompted to connect with after that. So if you suddenly started connecting with 3 people in Southern California, then the next ones that come up will come from other parts of the States as well, and probably over on the West Coast then too after that. So next thing, you're naturally broadening the groups of people that you're connecting with from there. If you put in data analytics and you stick to your country, that's all you're going to get is people within your country, because the algorithm works on the group of people that you're already connected to, and it goes, oh, she likes to connect with people in Ireland, let's show her more people in Ireland that she wants to connect with. But if you start broadening out into other countries, then you'll start to see the whole thing widen and improve, and it happens really quickly too. If you add 2 people a day, oh, you'll see it there. Oh, second question she has too.
Oops. Okay. I think this would be the last question, and it's also from Aya. She says, my second question is, apart from sending connection requests, many people are busy and are really not interested in having people start small talks with them. Do you advise sending a follow-up message after your connection request has been approved, or would you advise connecting with such people in the public, like reading and commenting on their posts, to create some form of familiarity? So that would be the last question for today. You can hook up with Jennifer. She has shared her LinkedIn profile. And just so we know, we're gonna be having Jennifer for the next 3 weeks. And the next topic is on public. Can't wait to have her. But Jennifer, please go ahead and share, your response to that question.
No worries. I would say just be honest when you're contacting the person and you put a comment in. If you want to have a conversation with them, tell them that you'd like to have a conversation with them. Could they spare you 10 minutes? You have a couple of questions you look for advice on. And most people are responsive to that. If you're not getting a response to that, then lean into, reading and commenting on their posts, saying a few bits and pieces, give it a while, and then do a follow-up. If they're not biting after the follow-up, then you're gonna have to write that one off. But I know that I've often had people ping me and ask me questions, and I'll answer them or do a call, because if they've taken the time to look for the help, then we should help them. But you'll know, like, if you've got somebody, if it's Bill Gates that you're pinging, he's probably not going to save you 5 minutes for a call, but you can still follow him. So I would choose, if a career change that you're making, find somebody who's in the role that you want to be in, find a bunch of them, about a dozen of them, and connect with them, and then take your time going through them all. Just ask for 5 or 10 minutes. Most people will spare you that rather than an hour-long call. And once you get on a call with them for 5 or 10 minutes, then that's your moment, your moment to shine as such. Once you make that connection with them, then if you decide you want to do a follow-up or a longer call or have more questions, then broach it on that call, and they're likely to take you up on it. Oh, back to my house. Yeah, thanks a million for having me, Dawn.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I really, really did enjoy having this session with you, and I really cannot wait for next week. Again, we're going to be sending the recordings for today's session. It would be available via our newsletters. So if you're not following us on our social media channels, you can send me, or you can send a mail to mail@wentis.com to have this recording in your mailbox. Again, Jennifer, I love you so much. Thank you for making out time. We totally are so appreciative of everything you do for women in technology worldwide. And again, thank you. Do have a wonderful weekend. To you, Jennifer, and to everyone on the call, have a fantastic one. And Yandi sir, let the Afro leave. I love it. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.